Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the excuse me, Board of Selectmen's meeting for Tuesday, February 5th, 2013. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
In accordance with Mass State Law, I have to announce that we are recording this meeting both by the East Longmeadow Board of Selectmen and also East Longmeadow Cable, and I have to ask if anyone else is recording the meeting. Okay. And you are from? And
I'm just starting now, might as well.
So, okay.
Right.
All right. We'll start out. We have the public forum tonight, and we have two people signed up. We'll start out with Mr. John Turner. Come on up. How are you, sir?
Excellent.
How are you doing?
Mr. Turner?
Fine, thanks. Okay, I've never been to one of these before, and I've been in town for a long time, over 40 years.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is the result of a lot of frustration.
Okay.
Back in June, I tried to see Mr. Hellier,
Mm-hmm.
and I went to his office 4 times, and he was never there.
Okay.
On the posted hours, so someone in the selectman's office said, leave him a written thing, and he has to, by contract, get back to you. I did that, he never got back to me.
Okay.
The next month, I called you,
Mm-hmm.
and you never got back to me, so I
Okay.
sent you an email,
Mm-hmm.
and you never got back to me.
Right, because at the time, my mother had passed away, and then I had a sister who I had to put into a group home, and I was a little preoccupied, so I apologize for not getting back to you.
Okay, and then I went to this gentleman over here, and he took down some notes, and he said he would see Mr. Hellier, but he'd be back to me in a few weeks. And he was back to me in a few weeks, and Mr. Hellier gave a bunch of snide answers. And I was pretty insulted by them, and I asked him if I could have a copy of the questions and the notes from the meeting with him. And he said his writing was very bad, and he would type it up for me and get back to me. So about 3 weeks later, I called him, and he had lost the notes.
Okay.
So he never got back to me.
Okay, so what are the issues involved?
The issues involved are zoning. In other words, there's a lot of spot zoning in town as far as I can see. We've got these big landscaping concerns that have big buildings on their property with commercial vehicles in them, many commercial vehicles in them.
Mm-hmm.
And according to our bylaws, that's not copacetic. It's not legal.
Okay.
And just like boats, I mean, you drive into town, and on Maple Street, there's a 35-foot boat,
Mm-hmm.
and there's 2 more out back. And you've got this place out on Parker Street, and he's building a huge building back there. He's got cherry pickers and big trucks, and that's a trailer. And they, by bylaw, don't belong there. We're not supposed to have any fences taller than... I called the town office. I could not navigate the website. I tried to get a hold of Mr. Quimby. He didn't get back to me, but his assistant did, and she could not help me navigate the website at all. So some of the women in the office gave me some answers. And
Is this an RV?
what?
I believe that's an RV.
That's a boat.
Oh, is it a boat?
It's a 35-foot
Oh, it must be a
boat.
pontoon boat or something. Okay.
No?
Oh, okay. Because the other boat I could see
It's
looks like a boat, but that one doesn't.
Oh,
so-
no, I don't know which picture you're looking at, I'm sorry.
The Parker Street one.
The Parker Street, that's some kind of a trailer.
Yeah. Okay. It kinda
It's
looked
a
like an
trailer,
RV.
okay? But there's a big fence around, and there's a bunch of stuff out back. Some of the pictures didn't come out. So I got concerned, and I asked the lady in the town hall, how high can a solid fence be? She said 4 feet. Well, I think it's 6 feet.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of these places have got 8-foot, 9-foot fences around them. And when I go down the street, and I go down Kibbe Road, those are 2 commercial vehicles. They don't belong. Here's 2 tractor-trailer trucks that obviously don't belong. And these are all zone residential. Behind these houses, you've got that. You've got that. There's 3 houses in a row there. You've got that.
Kibbe?
Yeah, there's 3 in a row. You've got that. Okay. And we can go down Lee Street. Lee Street, there's a business down there that I was told it's a family business. No one's lived on the property for over 15 years. There are multiple vehicles on the property.
And I believe there is an ordinance that, and I don't know it, I know the owner's here. I believe that's the property. There is an ordinance, because someone else had asked me about that, and I did refer them to Dan Hellier, and he did explain to them why it was allowed, but I don't have that on hand.
It was a family business, was what I was told. You can't run a family business out of a property that you're not living at.
Well, I think the gentleman who owns the property might be able to explain it.
Well, can I finish?
Ralph, I'm sorry.
Okay. That's Lee Street.
Yep. Okay, now that's one commercial vehicle, right? Because I happen to know that's where the owner of that business lives, so.
I think there's also a car there that's not registered.
Okay, well, you're allowed one, I believe you're allowed one unregistered car.
But they're supposed to be not in your front lawn,
That
in
I'm
plain
not sure,
sight.
but
They're
you-
supposed to be not in sight. Okay, this is the end of Lee Street. There's a few commercial trailers there. This is Pease Road. That's a cherry picker. That's a gas company truck. That's Porter Road. That's there 7 days a week. I know Boston Gas. I don't know if we're an annex of Boston Gas or not.
I'm trying to think, this doesn't even look like a
That's-
yard. I don't.
That's on Porter Road.
Is it?
It's on the left-hand side as you're going out of town. There's generally about 4 or 5 cars there, plus the gas truck.
You mean like past Fenway Golf?
Yeah,
Oh, okay, okay.
that's on the same side of the street on Porter Road. This is Porter Road.
Where's, this is someone I don't know, where's this one? Oh, Porter Road.
That's Porter Road. This is Porter Road. There's a couple of
This one
unregistered
I'm not
vehicles.
familiar with. Debbie, want all these?
This is Porter Road. Here's Allen Street.
Yeah, I know where this is.
Our town looks pretty shabby, and I think it's looked shabbier and shabbier in the last 20 years. And I think if we've got zoning laws and we've got 8, 9, 10-foot fences, they don't belong in residential areas.
Okay.
And they're there. They've been brought to Mr. Hellier's attention, and he hasn't seen fit to do anything about it.
Okay.
And you don't have to go up with a tape measure to realize that when something's above the garage door, that it's more than 8 feet tall. And I'd like to know if we're going to do anything about enforcing our laws.
Okay, well, obviously,
I can speak to a few of these if
Okay.
you'd like me to.
Sure.
Why don't you give me the whole pile? Okay. This is on Pease Road. This is under small business permit. That's completely been okayed by the planning board. I was on the board at the time.
Okay, what do you mean by that, sir? I'd like
This-
that, because I was always
This
under
is a home,
the...
this is a home-based trade, accepted, permitted property. The screening has been accepted by the planning board. I was there when we did it. I was just the chairman of the planning board.
Okay, now, that's nice to say, but I didn't know that all of a sudden we could put spot zoning, because what you're
It's
doing
not,
is just
it's not
spot
spot
zoning.
zoning. We did,
This,
we
how
set
many,
the-
how many vehicles is he allowed to have there? for
Could I
this
just
business?
finish explaining, please?
Sure.
Thank you. The home-based trade bylaw was put together between the East Longmeadow Small Business Association and the planning board after about 6 months,
it's close to a year.
close to a year of negotiations. The home-based trade bylaw is a part of our official bylaws of the town of East Longmeadow.
So that superseded what was there before.
Yes. It was created, there were businesses in town that were not properly permitted. The people that own the businesses have been long-established residents of the town. in trying to not say to them, you have to leave, because it's more than 10, 15, 20, we put together the home-based trade bylaw. If you want to find out, okay, and that was voted on by the town, it's a part of our official bylaws. The people, what we did was,
You still haven't answered my question.
what we did was, we made a bylaw that had a beginning date and an ending date. So if you were in business at the time in that window, you could apply for a home-based trade permit, which is a site plan review. You pay money, you go and have a site plan done. You determine how many vehicles you're gonna have, where they're gonna be, what the screening is gonna be, and the planning board then went out, had a meeting, then went out and did site visits, and one by one approved these.
So what you're saying is that we can have commercial complexes as long as you approve them with
No.
an unlimited number of vehicles
No.
in residential zones.
Some of these things are wrong, and they are violations. I'm just trying to explain to you that if
How
you
many
want...
vehicles are you allowed to have in
It
there?
depends on their permit. So what you need to do is go and look at their actual permit that they have. This one I know is okay. This gentleman's down on Chestnut Street. I know he has 3 boats. I personally don't know what the bylaw is for how many boats. You can have at least one, and you can have at least one motorhome.
A number of feet, too.
That's behind the setback of his house. This is complete, that one boat is completely legal. That one boat is. This is Deco's. He's under the same permitting.
How many, you still,
You'll have to-
he's got a 10-foot fence there.
He's allowed to have that fence, that screening, and it's not in front of his house. It's after the front setback of his house. It's completely legal. It's been approved by the planning board. This is on the corner of Pease Road and Kibbe Road, am I correct? Because I live right next door to it. He's allowed to have that trailer there.
There's 2 trailers there, sir.
Well, he's not allowed to have 2.
There are 2 there.
This commercial vehicle is supposed to be screened. That's not a legal parking place for that vehicle, but he has a permit for his one vehicle. It needs to be screened. He has a spot that he can put it at. It's parked in his driveway. I don't know why, but he has a
How about the
permit.
unregistered car there?
That's completely legal.
How many
I'm
unregistered
not going to speak to
vehicles
this
are you
here.
allowed?
Pardon me?
How many unregistered vehicles are you allowed?
One. This is Mr. Page's property, and I will let him speak to that when he wants to. I am not familiar with this one. If that's a commercial vehicle, by law, it's supposed to be screened from sight and not visible from the road. So that's a possible violation.
If that person is actually in the...
Parked it for the night. If he's home for lunch, he's home for lunch.
No, it's there overnight.
If this is a commercial vehicle, everybody's allowed one commercial vehicle. If it has a commercial plate on, it has to be screened. If that's parked there all the time, that's supposed to be screened. This is part of the house that has the big building that's being built. He's under the,
So we're going to have...
Special
they're
permit
gonna have
also.
about 15 commercial vehicles
he,
parked in the middle of a residential zone.
he has...
That's what you're allowing
He
to
has a
happen, sir.
permit to do that. He's part of the small business.
Small business does, you can't define a small business.
He's permitted-
Is a small business 1 vehicle, 10 vehicles,
It depends on what his
15
permitting
vehicles?
is. You have to go look at his permit and then go see how many vehicles he has.
Well, I
If
asked
he
you
is
that
in
question.
Please don't interrupt me. I'm trying to educate you on what is right and wrong. I'm trying to do the right thing for you, okay?
That was the wrong thing to say, sir.
So, that trailer is legal. He is permitted by the planning board. If you think there's a violation, you need to put it in writing to Mr. Hellier, who is a zoning enforcement officer, in writing. Then Mr. Hellier, after it comes in writing, has to follow up on it. This, I agree, is a mess. If you want to do something about it, put it in writing to Mr. Hellier.
And we'll make sure they get active.
And we will make sure, I am the liaison to the building department. I will make sure it's followed for you personally, and I mean that. I promise you that. I'm not sure what this one is. Most of my, oh, wait a minute. Oh, Kibbe Road. Where on Kibbe Road is that?
See.
Where on Kibbe Road is this one? I can't figure that one.
Is that down towards Summers Road?
That's with the same 3 houses. That's just more junk out in the woods.
Okay, that's And I know who it is, I'm not disagreeing with you, but you need to put it in writing before it's an actual complaint. This is the same thing, the same thing. This is these are commercial vehicles. He has a special permit to have these vehicles there.
They're supposed to be behind the screen, sir.
Well, I'm sure that he might be home for lunch, I'm not sure. If you think that it's, if you
Took
think,
those on a Sunday.
if you see it outside, you need to put a complaint in writing to the building inspector and also the zoning enforcement officer, in writing, and then he'll do something about it. No go, same property, I know where these are. Same thing here, written complaint. Same thing here, written complaint. This is Deco's, this is okay. It's just not parked at the right spot at that
That's not
moment.
Deco's.
Where is that? That's on
That's
Porter Road.
It's on Porter Road, the
Before,
same side of the
before the
street.
cemetery. That's Deco's.
No, no, sir. That's after Deco's.
There's nothing after Deco's.
On the right-hand side, most certainly.
There's
that-
two of them. It's his father and him.
That happens to be, if you ride down the street, you'll see it sitting there.
Well, it's supposed to be screened, so you need to put it in writing. if
Does
there's
he have
something
a
more
home
complete.
business
Yes,
thing?
he does.
That's
Home-based
not
trade permit.
Deco's.
What's on the left-hand side and after Deco's is the water.
No, after Deco's, if you keep going down, it's on the same side of the street as Deco's.
There's a Deco father and a Deco son.
How far down the street?
They're right next to each other.
This
One's
is
the brown
not- This
house.
is not down, this is further down the street, sir.
After
We
the
know-
brook?
After the brook.
Okay, then that's not permitted, because we didn't do a permit down there, so you need to put that in writing. I apologize, I thought it was Deco's. This one, I have no idea.
That's right next to Deco's. There's a couple of unregistered vehicles just sitting
Okay.
there, wide open.
You need to put that in writing. And when these are put in writing and formally submitted to the building inspector, they'll get followed up on.
You'll make sure they get followed.
And I'll make sure they get followed up on. That's all I can do.
Because
But
I
what you
did
need
call
to
you too, sir.
What's that?
I called you too, and you didn't answer my phone call.
You didn't call me. How'd you call me?
I called a cell phone number that she gave me in the office. It was either you or somebody else in the selectman's office last Thursday. Gave me a telephone
I
number.
don't know. I have no
I left
message.
a message.
I would have called you right back. I have no message on my phone, none. I apologize for that. I didn't get it. I would have called you. It's my job, and I'm here to do my job correctly.
Now I'm going to ask the same question again.
Okay.
Because the home business thing, I'm very disturbed about the fact that a home business can be a very large business, sir.
It was,
There
they can be
I
one truck,
asked-
it depends on the
just-
square footage of the property. You
Okay,
need to
so-
go to Robin, up to the planning board, and have her bring out the agreement, and she will tell you exactly how many vehicles are okayed for that property. If you think that there are too many vehicles, put a complaint in writing to Mr. Hellier, and that's the proper way to do it, and it will get attended to, I promise you. It has to be in writing. But you should go up and review the bylaw, the new home-based trade bylaw, and read it so that you know that there are certain businesses, small business in town, that have maybe a truck and a trailer, or maybe 3 trucks and a trailer. It depends on the square footage of the property. And there's very strict, not laws, but very strict components to the home-based trade bylaw.
Where on our website do you find this, sir?
You have to go into the bylaws. It's in the bylaws.
Where do you find the bylaws? Because it's very convoluted, and there's no table
Are
of
they,
contents there.
are they on the webpage? I don't go to the town website that much. Are the bylaws on there?
I asked a Miss Race, who was Mr. Quimby's assistant, and she couldn't tell
Well,
me.
that's probably not in part of her duties to know that information. Go to Robin at the planning board. She will give you the bylaw. Okay, it's in our bylaw book, which as officials, on the planning board, we have. Ralph may have one you can read. He's got one right there.
You got it right
It's in
there?
our bylaws. It was voted by the town at town meeting. We went through it for almost a year, and I mean, we had meetings that were 3, 4, and 5 hours long to work this out, so that the good residents of the town that have been doing business here didn't have to incur a lot of financial overhead to stay in town.
So what was the window?
May I just ask Ralph, is that okay?
Sir.
Ralph, I've forgotten, what was the date, the starting and ending date? It was like,
It's long ago.
it was up until March of like 4 years ago. But you had to be already in town. we didn't want everybody to be able to come in and get a permit, so we had an ending date. After this date, you're all done. You can't have a home-based
So
trade.
if someone bought a piece of real estate after that date.
Done. They can't do anything.
They can't do.
No, they can't, sir. Nothing.
Okay.
Nothing.
And the number of vehicles is determined by the square footage.
For the home-based trade bylaw, yes. And there's,
And I do have a question about Pages, because there's an abandoned house down there.
I'm gonna
And
have
I don't
you,
know how you can run a business
He-
out of an abandoned house. And I know he's here now, so he can answer that.
Mr. Page's business is
Yeah.
grandfathered in.
Okay.
Legally
it's-
grandfathered in through the building inspector.
hold, sir, please. I'm just trying to get, it's not a matter of semantics or anything else. But when I see the word home, it means it's run out of your home. It's not run out of a separate piece of property. I can't understand how you get from there to there.
Mr. Page is gonna read you the law that pertains to it. His is the one different business than the rest of them. His is grandfathered because the business was run before the bylaws were written.
But he is supposed to have fences around, so you don't see it from the road, right?
I don't think that applies to him. I think at this time, I'm going to stop making comment because I don't have the full details. I do know that's a legal, registered business. He has a business permit, and it's a grandfather business. I don't have the specifics of the
Well, he does.
MGLs, and I think Mr. Page, if he
And-
wants, can address your
And,
questions.
and Mr. Hellier has not gotten back to me in the past.
When you
And it was
do-
written,
when
and he
you,
never called me back.
okay, things are different now, and I will do my job as a member of the Board of Selectmen that I'm supposed to do, and as the liaison to the building department. I work with Mr. Hellier, we work in relationship. When there's a written complaint, I'll make sure that it's followed up on. You have my promise.
Mr. Turner,
So that's what we need to do.
the website on the top, under government, it's called Town Code, and our bylaws are on
Is
there.
that where it is? Okay.
So if you go
It's
to
under town code.
Town Code, and if you click on Town Code,
Yeah.
those are our bylaws.
And it's in there. It was
And
voted on by the town.
I've clicked on it, I've gone, scanned 80 pages down
So I
here,
have
80
them-
pages
I've
there.
got them opened right here.
You've got them open now. Well, maybe I didn't get lucky.
No, that's okay. So it's just at the top, under
And I
government.
did call the selectman's office, and they couldn't tell me how to do it.
So I have them open
And
right
Mr.
now,
Quimby didn't get back to me.
under Town
You're,
Code.
you'd be better served by going right to the planning board. You can read the bylaw, you can look at the permits on the different properties, so you better understand how many vehicles are allowed. And if there's too many, make a complaint. It's absolutely what you should do. But a written complaint, and that starts the process. If you think about it, say it went to court and there was no formal declaration of a complaint, it's basically hearsay. And the building inspector or the zoning enforcement officer at that point would be operating on hearsay. You can't do that. It needs to be in writing. Okay?
Now, if you'd like, Mr. Page can explain
Sure.
his particular instance.
Through the chair.
Or you can stay here if you like. It's up to you.
Just sit down.
Okay.
It's the East Longmeadow zoning bylaw 1991.
Ralph, come on up.
Ralph Page.
How are you?
Good, thank you. I am a member of the planning board. That is my property on the corner of Pease Road and Lee Street that he's discussing. And under the 1991 revision, section 3.4, existing buildings, structures, and uses. This bylaw shall not apply to buildings or structures nor to the existing use of any building or structure or of land lawfully in existence or lawfully begun prior to the adoption of this bylaw. Sorry, I didn't bring my glasses.
Want to use
You want
one?
mine?
We're on the same buzz, you know.
This subject's come up a few different times over the years. Back in the early 90s with Tom DiMarzio as a building inspector, as recently as when we went through the home-based trade bylaw. I asked for a determination through Dan Hellier, the zoning enforcement officer. I brought in tax returns all the way back to 1960 to prove that I was a pre-existing non-conforming use, hence a business use out of that property. Under section 3.4, what it's basically saying is because I was pre-existing, these bylaws do not pertain to my use there. As far as the home-based trade, 7.36. It's about 16 pages in here, and it lists it step by step. Square footage, what's allowed, what's not allowed. Thank you.
Thanks, Ron.
Thank
Mr. Turner. I just want you to know that I don't like seeing the town in a mess either. I don't like to see signs that aren't supposed to be there, things tacked on
New buildings
poles.
come in.
I don't
commercial
disagree with
buildings,
you.
They're built right out to the street. Shaker Road was widened for the use of the businesses. There's not, it's the second busiest street in town, there's not even a sidewalk. The
those-
vehicles are parked right out to the street. That's dangerous.
Well, those are other issues that we brought up tonight. I welcome you to kind of take care of that if you want to do that, and I will see that the process is brought to the final step.
This time, when I send something written to Mr. Hellier, I'll send you a copy too,
Fine with
sir.
me.
Perfect.
Because it didn't get done the last time.
Okay. We're here to make sure things get done properly, and I mean that. And I thank you for your time coming
And
in.
there's nothing on boats as to the number of boats.
I don't know. I know that
There
you can
used to
have
be
one
something
boat.
on, this is only one about boats.
I have not read it myself. So
Because,
I can't speak to
There is
that.
one about boats. I'd like to know where it is because
Go ask Robin for the
who's Robin?
Robin McDonald, she's the executive director of the planning board. She's upstairs, planning and conservation. Go up the stairs. When you get to the landing, she's on the right, DPW is on the left. You're gonna talk to Donna first. Just tell her what your request is, and you can ask to see Robin. She'll give you all the information you need. There's all supporting documented material. I suggest you read it all, and if you find something that's being done that isn't parallel with the bylaw, then make a written complaint.
I just think that it's sad, the condition of the town is sad.
Part of them are.
It's going downhill and downhill. And our taxes aren't going down.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Turner.
Here's your pictures, Mr. Turner.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, here's your stuff.
Don't want any of those back, huh?
What's that? I'll keep them if you want. You got copies?
I can give them to Mr. Hellier while they're in the camera.
Okay. That might be something that would accompany a written complaint.
And I know it might be difficult, but I'm thinking if you get a street number also, because some of those,
Yeah.
the description of it.
Well, sometimes they don't have.
Yeah, I know
street
it,
numbers,
I know it. Or you don't know
That's
whether-
why I
which-
took pictures.
Okay.
Even Mr. Hellier could find out the pictures.
Yeah, okay.
There's a couple there that really need your attention, believe me.
All right.
I know other people have complained. That's the problem. I'm not the first guy here to complain. I'm just the guy that's taking the heat for everybody else because I know people have
Well,
followed.
let's work together. You do your part and make it written, I'll do my part and make sure it's followed up
So
on.
all I have to do is give a written complaint
Yes, sir.
about these places.
Yes, sir.
And it'll be done expeditiously, or,
Expeditiously.
thank you, sir.
There's laws that make certain that it has to be done expeditiously.
All right. Our 6:05 public forum person.
Sorry.
Do I
Heather
get that much
Cunningham. Come on up,
time?
Heather.
How's everybody?
Good, you?
Good, thanks.
Go ahead.
Good to see everybody.
Hi, Heather.
How are you? I'm not exactly sure. I wanted, a regular agenda appointment, and because we put in requests, and so we were expecting to hear back. So basically, I guess I just want to, do a, public forum. We never came before the board for any controversy. We wanted to, have the people embrace us, and, we wanted to work to bring our community together and make our land beautiful, and that was our intent, and that's what our intent is for the future. So I guess I'm here because I just wanted to hear formally what how you go about answering the requests that we put in. We wrote them and we put in requests, and you were supposed to meet with the board, so I just wanted to hear it publicly and formally for everyone else to hear too, so.
Okay.
And what we're supposed to do next, some direction, because we're new at this, we're all new at this, so.
As I know you have something you want to say, but before you get into that, I know we had spoken on the way in, and obviously for the town meeting, you should put together, a warrant item, because as I've harped on numerous times, I want the town to decide what to do with the property. So obviously, if you put a warrant item out there and they approve of it, then we can proceed. So that's your first step as far as doing anything that's don't know what the word I'm looking for is, because, you know, you were talking about two different things. We're talking about the gardens, which aren't really a high impact thing to the property. So those, I'm not speaking for the board, but I don't think we have a problem with that. But I'll defer to you. But for the big project, obviously, you've got to get a warrant item in and get it to the town, so we can see what the town's take on it is. Okay?
And we will do that.
And so I'm on the agenda further down to discuss the Brown property.
We must
Do you
do
want
that
to
now.
wait, or do you want to, okay,
I don't wanna
Good
be out
time.
of
Doesn't
order.
matter if,
okay.
Okay. So, Brown property was purchased in 2009, and we also, and it was purchased for open space and recreation. And we commissioned the Pioneer Valley Planning Commission to put together a feasibility study. They provided us with 4 opportunities or options for use in the land. Today, almost 4 years later, we haven't done anything with it. And we have people like yourself who are coming forward saying, we'd like to use it. With the support of my fellow members of the board, I've been meeting with department heads so that I could learn more about the property, again, being new. And they've been extremely helpful. And the fact is, from what I've learned, is that regardless of what we want to do with that property, whether it be gardens or fields, there are some specific issues that need to be addressed, regardless of what we want to do with it. The access road has inadequate sight lines to the west. The existing road and parking lot is not adequate for use. There are no sanitation facilities or water on site. The building has not been secured. And while wetlands have been delineated, no actual request for determination has been filed, so the wetland boundaries haven't been actually certified. These are pretty easy things. There is currently a $30,000 amount that was pre-approved for us to do some of this work. And I'm happy to say that several members of the group that I've met with have offered to put together prices to take care of some of these things. And it would be my hope that once we look at those prices to see what the cost of doing that would be, and look at the $30,000 that we have, that perhaps the board or a citizen will petition a warrant article to have that work done. Because at a very minimum, regardless, even if we were to say, yeah, go ahead and put your gardens out there, there's going to be more people going on there. So driving in and out will not be safe. There needs to be a place for parking. And it's temporary parking nonetheless, but there are some very specific things that need to happen, again, regardless of what we want to do. So I have been promised that we will have some prices so that we have an idea. Is it $30,000? Is it $50,000? Is it $75,000? At that time, I'll be able to come forward and talk about, more in detail what needs to take place. If you as a citizen want to petition a warrant article to have that work done, you could do that. I think that I want to see the prices based on these very simple things, simply to make it safe to go on and off. And so it's my intention to take the information that I'm provided with in a timely manner and move forward with it.
Well, the MOU that I wanted and I request was only to work with the town and collect more data and information. So actually, we're all on the same page and we're all working for the same goal, and that was the original intent. We've had this property since 2009. It's been sitting there. We really do want to utilize it as a community. It's beautiful. I don't, before Ralph went out and mowed and cleaned up the area, it was looking really shabby. We do have signage issues. We do have, you didn't add that into the list to mark it. People do still have the ability to go out and use the trails. It's quiet. It's peaceful. It's a beautiful piece of property. So as long as we're all working for the same goal, I'd be more than willing to help and just put in time to do whatever. We've already collected some because you didn't bring up the buildings. The buildings do need to be just, secure, but we've all felt, the people that I'm working with and the community and themselves, they also have to decide that as the town. These buildings are not condemnable, and we have requested that in writing, and we would like to actually maybe see if we can utilize them for another purpose besides just clearing out the land to put a road in or whatever. They can be used for the town. I mean, there's so many different options on that. So
I think that's
phase
2, 3.
It is phase 2.
1 is being able to safely actually just pull in and pull out and
Yeah, so even if there's gardens there, we don't have to worry about accidents happening.
Well, as long as we're all working towards it.
And
You
I
know, we
think-
brought enough attention to it so
Right.
that we're actually moving towards something right now, so that's a victory as far as I'm concerned.
Finally.
And I
Yeah.
think we'll try to, if you can, to try to expedite, you know, some of these things getting done, because obviously, if nothing else, because obviously the town meeting's not till May, but if you're looking at gardens and those, that's something that we determined won't, you know, like I said, it's not a high impact of use of it, and that's something that you're not gonna wanna plant in August. So we may wanna, you know, get this expedited, so if that happens, you can start as soon as,
Well, that's good
as I
to
say,
hear.
as soon as the snow's gone, but the snow's gone last week, so.
Yeah. It's really
knock
cold
on
though.
wood. But, so it seems like we're going in the right direction, and if you can, you know, work on your warrant item, which is March 1st?
March
Is that
1st
one?
for petition for,
We're working that, we're in the process, we've got our wheels turning, so you will see us definitely.
Okay,
And I appreciate it. And I
Good.
guess, you know, just because we've all had conversations, you know, here and there, but everyone needs to hear, you know, what's going on. We don't want to keep it, you know, behind closed
Mm-hmm. Right,
doors. We
right.
want people to know that we're working on something, so
Mm-hmm.
that's why I'm here tonight. And it's never been controversy. Like, I don't want to go up against people who want to use it for sports and recreation. If this land is best suited for that, then it needs to be proven, like you said, with the wetland delineation.
Mm-hmm.
I never came forth and said, oh, I want to claim and, you know, claim this land for something specific. It's just the fact that it's been sitting there since 2009, so,
It's
yay.
been frustrating for me too.
Well-
From the CPC, I mean, I got the phone call for the property. I've been there since the first day of it. I'm glad it's been brought forward.
And I have to say that I think that this is a great purchase for our town because of the fact that we don't have open space, and every time we turn around, someone's putting in a new development. So, you know,
Right.
I applaud the town for purchasing the land.
and I
That's
apologize
why we
for
brought it
not wanting to
forward.
put a casino on it.
Thank you. Not this week anyways. Never. All right, well, thank you.
Thank you, Heather.
Thank you.
Thanks for your hard work.
Yes,
Good to see
and
you.
be more than happy to volunteer any more time.
Okay.
Thank you.
Now, next on our agenda is Pete Gray, Pete Sweets. I don't know, is anyone here representing Pete? Okay.
Samples?
No samples. We'll move on, and if, I hope I don't mess up the names, Mark Soban and Ron Fortune. Come on up.
Which one is this? Oh, okay. The
How are
520.
you? Come on up, have a seat. We don't bite. How are you? Welcome.
Even, how are you?
Nice to meet you.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Oh, handshaking. How are you? Good to see you.
Okay, so you are starting a new business.
correct.
And using my college education, I can tell by all your permits, it's a yogurt place?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yay.
I'm quick like that when I see the frozen food and the milk and okay, so you're here to get our blessing on your applications. I know that the health inspector has okayed it. Just tell us a little bit about the business and what you're planning on doing.
It's a weigh and pay yogurt place. It's kind of with a twist of technology to it. We got iPads on the table. Social media is involved in it, but got a cereal bar. You got over 100 toppings. We sell coffee, a fresh waffle cone station.
Oh, sounds interesting.
Yeah.
So by weigh and pay, you pay
You
obviously
you
by how
get
much
what you want, and you go up
Okay.
to the register.
Oh,
And-
there's one up the street that is
It
phenomenal.
is good.
I have a question. With regards to the social media, are there any contests or anything that you can enter in the social media?
There's more just being able to go on an interactive TV and put posts up there. We will put like a name of the day so somebody can come in and get 50% off yogurt, things of that nature.
It's not an internet cafe, in other words.
No,
Just trying to extract a little information to
No,
make sure
Just
we're
get to
not
the
getting
point,
one
Pete, okay? It's not
backdoor.
an internet cafe.
that's not internet.
Somebody tried that before, so,
Yes.
okay.
All right.
Because as you know, they're not allowed by the state.
Yeah,
Right.
it's not an internet cafe.
As long as it's none of that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, well, we might as well go through the process. Is there a motion to accept the application for food service establishment
So
permit?
moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. How about a motion to accept the retail food establishment permit?
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Application to accept the milk and cream license.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Frozen dessert license.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
A common victualler license. I'm ahead of Mr. Driscoll on that, he can never say that.
You go ahead this time.
So moved.
Is there a second? All in favor?
Aye.
And your hours of operation will be Sunday to Saturday, 10 a.m. to midnight?
At worst case scenario, yes.
Okay.
Winter hours would be less than that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there a motion to accept the hours as stated in their license?
So
Motion.
moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Very good. That's it. It's all been approved by the health inspector, so it looks like you're ready to go, and
Then he'll
And when
come
will
out
samples be ready?
whenever you want. Third week in March, we're hoping.
Third week in March?
March 18th, we're shooting for a soft opening.
we try to keep the graft up, but, you know. Well, welcome to town.
Thank you very
and
much.
best of luck to you.
Excited
Good to
about
see
it.
you.
Thank you very much.
Good luck.
Yep, thank you very much.
Best of luck.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Hope to see you there.
Good luck.
Thank you.
You will.
Best of luck.
Thank you
See
very
you.
much.
I called and then nobody came up.
Approvals in absentia.
Okay.
Just let it
Okay.
forward.
Go back to it.
Yes. We will go back to
Sweets.
all right, Pete's Sweets. Anybody who I don't know personally, but I know Pete Gray was on that, like, next grade baker on, I believe it was something to that effect. And unfortunately, he never made it to the finals, but I've heard he's a tremendous, tremendous baker, and he's opening up a shop at 32 Shaker Road. And he's got a couple applications here, and from what I understand from Nick, we can approve them in absentia, and the health inspector has approved these, so what I'd like to do is, obviously I can't explain the business, but I assume it has something to do with cakes and pastries, so I would like to see if there's a motion to accept their application for a food service permit.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And their hours of operation, which are Sunday to Saturday, 10 a.m. to 10 p.m., which are also in the license. Is there a motion to accept the hours as stated?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great. You can notify them, Nick, that they've been approved.
Thank you.
Our next appointment is our Council on Aging Director. And we're actually on time now. How are you?
Good.
Hey, Carolyn, how are you? Good to see you.
Nice to see you.
Okay, we've got a couple items here, I think that are in executive session, and I don't see our town barrister here yet.
We have Labor Council's here. Attorney Donahue has not arrived yet.
Okay. So what we'll do is we'll take the other items, and if you don't mind, I don't want to sound like my former colleague, but if you don't mind waiting, we'll...
That's fine.
Okay.
That's fine.
All right, the first item I can let you address, but it's unfortunately a resignation notice.
Very unfortunate. Sandy started as a volunteer 9 years ago, and then was hired as the activities director and took on the volunteer coordination as well. So she did this after retiring from her career, so she has been kind of my right-hand person, so it's somewhat devastating that she's retired. We did everything we could not to accept it, but this is just a resignation, it's not retirement, so we hope to keep her still engaged somehow.
That's good. Yeah, she has been.
She's been an incredible staff person.
So that's how you do all that down there?
She's the go-to.
She really is. What you see in the newsletter is Sandy.
Yeah.
I'll tell you.
The
Coordinates
rest of
all the
staff.
volunteer
Yep.
programs.
Yep, she's incredible.
Yeah.
You gotta go there on a Thursday lunch.
You know, what we'll have to
I've
do,
been.
Nick, is
It's
send
great.
her a letter.
Actually
you
worked with her to do a
thanking her
chocolate
for
making
her service
class.
to-
Okay.
to the
She's
town
fabulous.
On behalf of the board. Second item, Chief, is the van service. You,
Mr. Chairman, would the board accept it with regret at this point?
okay, yes.
Oh,
Is there a motion to accept with regret the
So moved.
resignation?
Yeah.
What if we don't accept it anyways?
That's what, I talked about that. I already tried. I let it sit on my desk for a while.
Okay.
Are you
I'll
sure?
second that.
Definitely. There's your chance to say no tonight.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, second item is the van service. You have a donation?
Well, we have a donation of a van
that's
because
right,
the
yes.
former one died.
Oh, great.
And we reached its point where we couldn't put any more money into it, and as you know, it's totally self-supportive. So we really had reached our limit with how much money we could put into it, and PVTA has been very generous, and we got a much newer, used, older van. So it's a 2006 Ford, which I guess Fords are better in
Absolutely.
this type of paratransit service. So we're very fortunate. Did I just insult somebody?
Is there a Chevy salesman out there? I heard a groan. I didn't know that.
So we're very happy, very pleased. They did it very quickly. I think the turnaround was like 3 days that we were without a van.
Right.
So it's just, we'd like you to accept it.
Okay. Is there a motion to accept the van as a donation to the Council on Aging?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion, other than the fact that we thank the PVTA for
Yes,
their
thank
for
you
their
very
generous
much.
donation?
Yep, they do very
All in favor?
Aye.
Great. Candidates night.
February 21st, because our town moderator, Jim Shields, is also running. He is bowed out for facilitating that, so it's going to be former moderator Larry Levine. He'll be moderating
good.
that. So we're just doing the contested positions because we want to give some
Which
time.
are two?
Selectmen and Department of Public Works.
And what time is it?
7 o'clock at the Senior Center.
Okay, and I believe your last two items, I know Nick's not here, but I believe those are both executive sessions, so if you don't mind.
No, not at all.
Now we're ahead of time, so why don't we get through some business? Is there a motion to accept the open session minutes of January 2nd, 2013?
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
The open session minutes of January 8th, 2013.
Motion.
The second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The open session minutes of January 16th.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The executive session minutes of January 2nd, 2013.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And the executive session minutes of January 8th, 2013.
So
Is there
moved.
is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I assume the 16th executive session minutes aren't set yet?
There was no executive session.
Ah,
Sunday,
okay.
that was the budget meeting.
Okay, thank you. Let's see, Board of Selectmen's, our old business, our department budgets, I don't believe, I know we're going to meet with appropriations on Thursday, so I think to allow the board members, I believe it's okay. I think we told the appropriations that we had a little bit of a window to accept the budget, so we'll go to the appropriations meeting, we'll go through all that process, and then I assume it's okay to accept the budgets at the next meeting?
I would assume that if the board's not ready to do it, that'll have to do,
Okay.
and then you'll have your conversations with the appropriations committee and maybe.
Yes.
Who are we having in?
That's up to for the board's discussion.
Okay. I know, I would like to have Carolyn. I would like to have Chief Mellis and Penny.
Did we want Mr. Hilliard?
Yes, I was thinking Dan Hellier. I'm trying to think of the other budgets.
Who do you have? You have building department?
Nick will already be there, right?
I'll be there.
Okay.
Town accountant will be there.
Okay.
I believe that date may be problematic for the Council on Aging director. I'll let her speak for herself, but
Okay, well,
that may be a little bit difficult. I don't
Okay,
know.
I did have a discussion with the Council on Aging Director today, and I told her if she couldn't make it, I would present the facts involved for her, and we'll go from there.
All of the board's department heads have been put on notice to
Okay.
prepare to go to that meeting. The board also has, of course, fire, recreation, LCAP, and animal control, although I would usually stand in if that's the case.
We should see if we can get through that tonight.
Okay. I'm trying to think if we should have the rec director. Maybe a good idea, just in case.
Yeah, because there's a request there, too.
Yes.
Okay.
You're
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you've got rec, building, and who else did you say?
Melissa.
Police
Police.
and
Hilliard, oh, you, and Nick.
either
will be there.
Carolyn or
COA.
myself. And I'm not going to wear the boots. What?
Nick's going to be there.
Right, I'll be there for any of the board of
Selectmen.
selectmen.
Right.
and
I
Board of
think
Health and
that's-
whatnot.
I think
I
that's,
think that's a good chunk, and those are where the requests lie.
Okay.
Just to let you know, I went to the school committee meeting last night where they presented their budget, did their screen presentation, and there are a number of requests there. So we're going to have to go over that.
Well, they'll be going over it.
What's that? Yeah,
They'll be
I
going
know,
over
but
it, so-
just, to sift through and see
Yeah.
where we're going to be as far as requests go.
Okay.
It's going to be tough.
Okay. All right, so, okay. So now, as far as the annual town meeting warrant, the article deadline is March 1st, as we've stated.
Petitioned articles
Petitioned
are due March 1st. Mr. Chairman, just to make clear as well that petitioned article papers are available in the clerk's office.
Okay.
And they need to be submitted to the Board of Selectmen's office. And then the board has set the date of March 15th for internal articles, if you will. And as far as I understand it, that applies to the Board of Selectmen as well.
Okay. So we will consider ourselves, which is the next item, any articles that we want to put on. We don't have to deal with that tonight, so.
What I would ask, Mr. Chairman, is if the board members individually have articles, even if it's a concept, to try and get them to me as soon as possible. That way I can begin to work with town council on language.
Okay.
We have time now, but that does seem to get used up pretty quickly.
Okay, thank you. Timeline update, is that,
Just wanted to bring to the board's attention that it's a little bit of a quirk for the town. The town usually publishes the warrant in the reminder for home delivery to fulfill the obligation under the bylaw that the town is notified, have a true copy of the warrant delivered. And the reminder, as the board is probably aware of, now is published on a Thursday. So it won't be coming on the 2 weeks before. We're looking at probably May 2nd for the reminder, that edition.
okay,
I need to have a discussion with town council. The bylaw calls for publication of the warrant for the annual town meeting 7 days prior to, which would, in this case, make it the edition for the 9th. I know this is sort of minutia, but it's a little bit of a change, so I wanted to just go through it with the board. Council has often recommended that it be 2 weeks prior, just in case some kind of snafu occurs. So that would push it back to May 2nd, and I would ask the board to have that discussion with appropriations, because the way the state budget falls, usually what happens is the warrant articles themselves are set, with the exception of typos and so forth, when we're getting into the proof process, with the exception of numbers, because there have been times when state numbers have changed close to the deadline for the publication, and the board has allowed for those numbers to be changed as long as it's not entirely new proposals, of course. So just a few mechanics to be thinking about.
okay. Now, the town meeting is the 20th?
20th.
Okay. Thank you. Let's see. Next item is the Veterans Service District. I know you have an E folder, but I don't have my E. So if you could review.
I don't have my E.
I know right now we're in a district where we're trying to decide how to proceed. I know Longmeadow is searching for a veteran service officer, and I've discussed briefly with one of their board members if we decide to change our focus, going with them, to share a veteran service officer, because we figure serving 2 towns might be more efficient than the fact that right now he's serving, I believe, 5. So, but that we're just in the negotiation or discussion stages. I want to say negotiation. So I don't know if you have anything to add.
Well, I would, another sort of mechanics here, there is a deadline in the sense that the agreement that the town is in with the Eastern Hampden County District states that any entity that wishes to leave that agreement needs to give minimum 60 days notice, so May 1st. We're also in the budget process. The timing of things is such as if the board has a strong feeling one way or another, it's probably better to put the matter to rest. If it is to stay with the district, then we're there already. If it's to leave the district, then that's a lot more complicated as far as trying to find out what the agreement would be with another community, notifying the district, and getting prepared to leave that. But either way, the funding will be different. It could be significantly less if you go with the 2-town entity.
Yeah, I think there's a savings to be realized by splitting the cost with Longmeadow. They seem to want to discuss that, and I agree with Paul that having it two contiguous towns, having one person makes a lot more sense than somebody covering Holland. And I mean, there have been some complimentary words given toward, to the situation now, but I've also had a lot of negatives. I've heard a lot of negatives in bad service. So in trying to expedite better service, I think it's better to have the person here. And it would be a savings to the town if you look at what the average salary is. We split it rather than our 46 or 49% we're liable for now with the other contract. The other towns are going to see an increase, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But I think we can save money.
Mr. Chairman, I would ask for consideration then to take action between now and the board's next meeting, whether it's a board liaison, myself, another designee to meet with town of Longmeadow and begin that formal process. Also to notify the chairman of the Eastern Hampden County District that the town of East Longmeadow is at least exploring that opportunity to give them that notification. The board chairman, excuse me, as you know, just for the benefit of the other board members, you have been serving as the board's liaison for the Hampden County district. If you wish to pursue this,
Sure.
if you wish to make a designation, however you want to do it.
And I'll be happy to pursue it. And I'll get back to you as to,
Good.
I know, like I said, I know they're advertising for a veterans officer, and I don't know the details, but I've been told that I think their salary requirements, we would actually save money because half of theirs would actually be less than whatever the percentage we're paying is, because we're so much so much larger, or however they calculate it based on the other towns. So
Just
what
for
we're in now.
Sorry, Paul. Just for a little explanation for the people that don't know, if you take 100% of the, so to speak, overhead with the regional, we're at 46 or 49% responsible for that. If we split the salary with Longmeadow, there's a pretty good savings there and better service.
Even though it will be 50%, it's a matter of what they're paying.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly. It's with the real estate values, that's how they do it. I mean, we're kind of taking the brunt of it. And I believe the state reimbursement goes to Munson, where the office is. There's some funds that go to the host town.
Well, for sake of administrative duties, the funding goes through Munson. The town is reimbursed for its portion. The state reimburses each town through Munson up to 75% or 75% of expenses that are incurred in aid to the veterans themselves. The assessment that the town pays is for the payment to the veteran service agent, and along with some overhead.
All right, our next item is the Regional Board of Selectmen's meeting from last Thursday that all three of us attended. The first item is the casino impact. I don't know if Selectman Bronski would like to speak to that, since you attended the meetings of the casino impact group.
So actually, nothing's really changed. The applicants have submitted their requests, and that deadline has passed, and now the state has to do its due diligence by looking into each applicant. There are certain deadlines. I think a date in June is the date that they can decide which applicants will be chosen for the Western Mass area. There are several. And so it really does sit in the state's hand. Now, in the meantime, many of the applicants who are looking to have casinos, Springfield, West Springfield, Palmer, are reaching out to their local communities to try and build relationships. It's up to the local communities to decide whether or not they feel they are an impacted community. If so, it is our responsibility to reach out and start those communications with the various applicants.
The morning after that meeting, I talked with Mr. Kingston, who has been involved with the PVPC on that level, and asked him what was going forward. And he said, well, there's a lot of thinking about what we should do, but there's not a lot going forward. He said, what I'm going to do is have Mr. Brennan from the PVPC call you. He's the director of it. So on Monday, I got a call from Mr. Brennan, and it was about an hour discussion, and PVPC has grant money to what they want to do is to get together a few towns. The thinking is that the more might, the better when you go to discuss things with the commission and the casinos, the developers. And what we have to do first is identify what the points of impact, the possible points of impact could be. I mean, it's pretty easy to figure out traffic, crime, and housing, but there are other areas that we're not aware of. So Mr. Brennan suggested that we get together, try to get 3 towns together. I know we discussed this with another town, the host town of the meeting last week, and they're not interested really. But there's 3 other contiguous towns, Wilbraham, East Longmeadow, and Longmeadow, that could possibly get together and provide more of a force rather than one. And he said, well, why? And I said, well, you know, we're independent. We want to have things looked at according to what our specific needs are as a town. He said, I understand that, but there's a cost. Do you want to do 3 costs or 1 cost? So it may make sense to team up with PVPC at this point in time for this part of the study to identify. Then what we do is, once we've identified, then we go and try to get a grant, apply for a grant from the Gaming Commission to then become one of the identified towns. The problem is there's only $50,000 for all the towns, so it may be wise for us, so that we're going to incur some costs, but it may be wise for us to 3 towns get the same firm, this is what he's thinking about, to identify our problems and to then make us an impact community and bring that to the Gaming Commission. Again, I said we have our own identity, our own problems, and again he said, do you want to do 3 different studies or do you want to do 1 study? So I'm just bringing this out to the board and to the town. This is what I discussed with Mr. Kingston and with Mr. Brennan. The thing is that we can't have too many more discussions about what we're going to do. We have to do something. The time is just, with budgets and the town meeting, we're going to get crunched at the end of this thing. And we have to do this right, because who knows where the casino's going to be, but if it's in the south end, we're smack dab in the impact zone. So we need to try to say yes or no. Do we want to have discussions with the PVPC? So that's what I'm bringing forward.
Okay. And I think we discussed, because we had surprisingly enough, quite a spirited discussion. And it was the fact that even if we have 1 consultant, if you will, for 3 towns to look at the casino impact, they will look at each town individually, and, you know, so we will get our needs met, you know, at the same time as the other towns. So
and to do it all at once, if we can get an agreement between 3 towns, it means that the cost is going to be way less. I mean, the first cost is a grant that we're going to get taken care of, but when it comes down to the application for grants with the Gaming Commission, there's not enough money to go around. So.
All right. The next item is health services, Nick?
It is. Mr. Chairman, though, if I could, I do have a question and follow-up with the casinos. So would an action be then to facilitate a meeting with those 3 contiguous communities?
Yeah.
The PVPC?
That's what I'm trying to bring
and,
up.
you know, a member or members of the board that want to attend? And
Okay. Is that something, I know you were going to the impact meetings, would you like to pursue that with
Sure.
Longmeadow, and I don't know who in Wilbraham? I know we know the usual suspects from Longmeadow because they were at the meeting.
Yes.
So okay.
Thank you.
So you're going to do that, Nick? Then. Oh, also.
Yeah, Deb's going to pursue it.
One other thing. I was discussing that with our town accountant, and he's going to get me, you know, the suggestion from one of the select board members in Longmeadow was to reach out to one of the towns that's already gone through this. I mean, Norwich and surrounding towns down there. So we're getting information as to who the contact person is, so we can at least get their input as to what they went through, who they used, and what they found out after everything was in. Things that maybe we're not going to hear from anybody, and we're just going to have to go through and learn from experience. So we're going to do that and reach out to them and at least have that effort. And I'll bring back any info I have to the board.
Great.
Okay?
Thank you. All right, health services, Nick.
This, again, is follow-up, is one of the topics of discussion from that meeting.
The
any
regionalization.
General, yeah, regional.
And the lack of enthusiasm about it because of the person would be spread too thin depending on the number of communities.
Well, I think, as you said, there was a spirited discussion. So,
yes.
but
Which
really
is so
just
unlike a regional selectmen's meeting, by the way, so.
the items here are for the board to have an opportunity to have any follow-up discussion that they might want to have, but also to give some direction as to whether or not and what you want pursued.
Okay.
I don't think that we were in much agreement for regional health services at
No,
all.
we weren't.
I thought that Ludlow pretty much voiced their opinion, and we did too, that we want to have that in town,
Right.
per town,
I believe so.
yeah.
And the next item is HR services, which we were interested in pursuing
much
because
so.
I know Ludlow, which was the host town of our meeting, is interested in discussing this with us as far as, I hate this expression, but sharing an HR person to start, since obviously our own HR person was voted down by the town, and we all see, at least we all see the need for somebody. The argument always comes back to you've got a $54 million company in effect and you don't have an HR person, which is unheard of in the business world. So we figure you got to crawl before you walk. So if we can get to the point where we can share an HR person, it'll cost us half of what it would, and it'll give us an idea of how effective it is, and we can revisit it after after we potentially do it. But that's that's something that obviously we'll have to discuss and see if we have to go to the town for approval. So.
Mr. Chairman, did the young lady that was there from the Pioneer Valley Planning Commission also mentioned at no cost she can do an assessment
Right.
of our HR needs, so that we have that information to present when the time comes, and I think we agreed to take her up on that as well.
Okay.
And I'm happy to.
Okay, that's
Get
another
my
thing we should
tone.
probably do sooner rather than later,
Yes.
if she can.
I found it interesting that Ludlow was suffering some of the same consequences that East Longmeadow was.
Yep.
And last is the home rule pension proposal, which I believe, well, if you would like to,
Well, this was an idea that was brought up that Swampscott appears to be pursuing and has a legislative sponsor to allow for the town to, in summary, to allow for the town to adopt home rule legislation to offer a pension plan of its own design for employees, municipal employees, from a particular date going forward. The ones that are currently in place would presumably stay with whatever local retirement board they're in. And I bring this up also, like with the HR services, if the board likes what it sees with a proposal, that would very likely need to be a separate warrant article. This may also need to be that step, although I think that the time frame may be a little bit too compressed, given the legislative process that's involved.
The timing is a little.
yeah, I think it's
little
more a
tough.
question of seeing how they proceed and how successful it is and go from there, so. Because I understand the problems, obviously some of the, from what I read in here, some of the pension payouts are based on percentages that aren't feasible anymore. Like, I know they had an example in there of one town where their pension payout is based on 8% return, and nobody's getting 8% return now, so it's up to the town to kick in the difference, so.
Right.
I understand where they're coming from, and obviously if it's something that can be done and help the town financially and not affect the pensioners, I guess it would be called, it would be something we might want to look into, so. But we'll hold off on that, it's strictly for information, I would assume now.
I mean, you're talking some real money here.
Yep.
23 million of total savings over years of 30-something billion. I mean, it's a lot of money. Okay, yeah. The distinction from the estimated the estimated unfunded pension liability is 23.6 billion. It's crazy money.
Statewide.
Yeah.
Okay. Next item, we took care of the Brown property, and now next is energy management, Nick. And then after this, we'll get the chief up here because.
With the, Mr. Chairman, then with the Brown property, was there anything specific? I don't know that I heard anything specific for action from this office at this time.
I don't believe there is. I know you
So
were.
I'm waiting for some information back from a couple of folks from the department meeting. They're going to get me some prices, and I will probably be taking paperwork out to, once I know what those prices are, and we have $30,000 of what else is necessary with your timelines in mind. may or may not petition a warrant article to have the work done,
Okay. Very good.
with the support of the selectmen, obviously. We.
Right, for the board, well, right, for the board.
I don't want to say that would be novel compared to what I've done in the past, but it's. Did I say that out loud? Anyway.
For the Board of Selectmen, is, if you're in agreement, though, the petition process won't be necessary.
Right, because
But
we
you
can do it.
for that,
could agree to put it on.
Okay,
I'm in agreement.
all right.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm glad I'm deferring this to you. It makes it easier.
There you go.
It's a good
Um,
thing.
All right. Now, since we've delayed him, even though we were on time, we'd like to get our police chief up here. No, don't look behind you. It's you.
Oh, I was looking at the roster. and
It's the other police chief.
That's not what I was
So once Paul Erickson walks through the door, too.
Sorry, being where I am.
Where are you?
Why don't you take him some?
Good, how are you?
I'm good.
Oh, sorry about that. It's okay.
Good to see you.
That's the brains.
Nice to see you also.
Nice to see you.
All right. Your first item is
All those in favor? Yes.
it's a couple incident reports.
Yes.
Oh, boy.
You want to go
Not
alphabetically, or
good.
you want to go?
Well, I don't know. I mean, did the letter come down yesterday that I had sent to the board? I had
I haven't
sent
seen it. I don't know.
because I think I kind of spelled it out there that
I don't recall.
for the boards. Did that come down, Lorraine? It would have been delivered around 4 o'clock yesterday. But it's a cover letter basically talking about the circumstances on whether you wish to have those individuals in for a hearing on the circumstances. There was one incident at Pasquale's restaurant that before the holidays they were in, and they discussed
Right.
what they were going to do to ensure it didn't happen again. And about a week and a half ago, we had another incident there where a subject was hit in the head with a bar stool, left. Subsequently, an investigation, they went out. They made an arrest. The gentleman's going to be processed through the court system. We did get phone calls on it. We did respond. But it was kind of the same. I haven't seen anything change in it.
Did you? I know the last incident that you had, there was a question of a manager on premises, and someone who said they were a manager was actually someone on the LLC for the property, but not
Right.
for the building. Was there a manager on duty or on premises that night? And-
We did get phone calls from staff there.
Mhm.
We received statements from the subjects that were working the bar. One gentleman who said he was there at the last one, but he was downstairs.
Right.
To the best of my knowledge, from what the officers told me, they didn't see him there, but
Okay.
he did say he was there and provided a written statement about what he saw.
Okay.
So I don't, again, I'm leaving it up to you. You're the liquor commissioners per se in the town. It might be wise to have him in there. I wish I did not bring a copy of that letter, because in that document, it's,
I've got a letter at the time I arrived at Pasquale's. Is that what we're looking for? No, okay.
no, it's a letter to me addressed to the chairman.
Sorry.
Okay.
And it's, and in it is because of the steps that haven't been taken.
Right.
I would ask the board to either make me responsible to determine if they need a paid detail officer there from 10:30 to 2:30 in the morning. And maybe we can curb some of this. Not that, want to be babysitting these people.
Right. But
if
two incidences
these-
within.
And it's
within
happening
a month. and a half?
11:30, 12 o'clock at night.
Mhm.
And there's other needs for our services.
Right. Right.
Sitting up there because someone wants to have a couple pops and start a fight.
Okay.
The other incident we had is in the middle of January over at the Meadows Bar, Club Meadows. He rents out the bottom, and apparently it was for a baby shower. and they had a disturbance down there where we found out about it later because the woman thought she was in Springfield and had gone to the Springfield police to report that she was assaulted. One female hit another female in the head, like a headbutt type of deal. So she left.
You know, they're worse than guys, you know.
But anyway, she left and we came back, and according to the manager, everybody was gone by the time we got the report. And
But wasn't there somebody got
yeah, but
slashed
that's
outside?
another one. That's another one. That was.
Oh, okay. I
that
didn't,
was
see,
the-
I didn't
two
know
of them.
about the first one.
Yeah,
That's okay.
I believe the first one's in your documents as well. The second one happened in the parking lot. It was the aftermath of a
There was a funeral.
funeral, and I guess as they were leaving, there was some discussion, some arguments between two females, and a male got involved, and the male that was, I guess, being ragged on
Excuse me.
appeared, and punches were thrown, and a box cutter was taken, and the subject, I think you have photos there, was cut from the ear to the eye, or almost to the eye socket. And again, that occurred out in the parking lot. The manager came and asked to speak with myself. I had myself and Sergeant Manley in when we talked to Manny Colella about the circumstances. He provided, it was a rental of the hall downstairs. They brought their own food, and they bought, I think, $27 or $29 worth of soda. There was no liquor sold at all. So it wasn't an instance of alcohol fueling a fire.
Right.
It's just apparently there are some bad feelings upon the people leaving. The fight took place out in the parking lot at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, 2:30, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. The subject that did the assault had left, called later, turned himself in, and he's being prosecuted as well. The circumstances in that is not like Pasquale's.
Right. Because
This,
it's not,
everything
yeah.
it was out in the parking lot. It was nothing that was, it wasn't, fuel wasn't an ingredient, alcohol wasn't a fuel to get this going. It was just
Right.
personalities involved. But I'm not keen on having my people go back to this Pasquale's.
Right.
As far as,
Right.
let's either, again, I'm asking, maybe have them in for a hearing, and
As I say, like
let's discuss this.
it obviously bothers me that they've had two instances in a short period of time. I don't know. I'll defer to my other board members. I know what my opinion is.
Well, The report, both reports have had no food being served too, which is a violation. Big one.
That we can
And
tell.
then it's a bar,
Then-
which
then-
isn't
then we
allowed
can
in
tell.
town.
Right. I think part of it is some of the discussion that the officers had down there, where they knew some of the players involved in this last incident, and the comments were, they're trouble. All right, well, if your staff knows they're trouble, then maybe you do one better and say, hey, here's a trespass. We don't want your business. Is your business coming in here for a couple beers or a couple shots worth me losing my license for 2 or 3 days?
Right.
So, maybe some initiative on their part to thin out the herd that might be potential problems down there.
I would be in agreeance for a hearing.
I wouldn't disagree with that, but I, for some reason, I'm not comfortable with saying it's okay that 2 incidences took place at the Meadows, and that was a different situation. It was alcohol, and it was no alcohol, and it was outside. It still happened, and whether or not a couple of beers were involved, I take that just as seriously as the incidences that took place at Pasquale's. So I guess my point is, I think it's the same, where there's establishments where people are gathering, and there are incidences that you have to deal with. And I guess I just want to say that out loud, that I don't think that we should distinguish that one is okay and the other
No,
isn't.
absolutely, and we've had in years past, we've had problems down here.
Yeah.
And we instituted a program where they had police officers there every night there was a band. So
Okay.
Friday and Saturday, they had a police officer there, out and about, in the parking lot, in the doorway, whatever. He had security identified with jerseys saying security. I don't know if Pasquale's has that. I didn't have any of that in the report, so.
No, I just felt I wanted to put that out there, but again,
Why-
I think a hearing probably to
What was
to
the
address
result
it.
from that action, chief, as far as quelling any disturbances? Did it stop?
Yes, it did.
And how long did they keep that in
I
force?
want to say, Paul, do you recall, it was about 6 weeks?
What's that?
And
When we had
since,
at the Meadows, we had the
That was-
details down there.
That was before my time,
Was
I
that
believe,
before?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
so what's the experience been down there since then?
Was it longer? I'm sorry?
What's the experience of having to respond then since then? I mean,
We've been down there for, vandalism or something in the parking lot, but as far as,
fighting?
as far as
disturbances?
fighting, we haven't,
Okay.
it's
So
been
it
in
shows
check.
that it works.
Right.
I have no problem inviting both of them
Yeah.
in, just to go over the things
Maybe it's
and
time to
make
have
sure,
an officer in.
and make sure that, that everyone gets on the right track and we don't have these incidences again, because you don't want to, A, you don't want to perpetuate the incidences, and B, you don't want anybody to get seriously hurt, not to downplay what's happened, because obviously I would not like to get hit with a bar stool, so.
And we want our
Or,
establishments
yeah.
to be, I'm sorry,
No, that's
Mr.
okay.
Chairman.
No, that's
We
good.
want them to be safe and enjoyable, and people to want to come to East Longmeadow to enjoy the nice places that we have. And this is not a reputation that we want to gain, so.
Additionally, the resources are tight up down there. The possibility of them being slashed by a box cutter or something like that's just as real as anybody else. So it depletes the resources of a department that, in my mind, doesn't have enough officers to begin with. So, anything we can do to keep those guys on the road or dispatch where they're supposed to be, particularly on the road, is a good effort.
We'll get them in.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
I'm hearing then from the board that the board wants to have a hearing with both,
Yes.
two separate hearings. Look to do that on the same evening of the 26th.
Sure.
Okay. Just for the board's notification too, these will be formal hearings where there'll be notifications, among other things, that they have representation. It'll be run solely like a hearing in the letter. I haven't had to write one in a bit, but it will specify that license commissioners will consider and reserve the right to take action up to and including revocation. So it doesn't necessarily mean that it's a revocation hearing.
Right.
But the language will, I believe, be included.
Up to.
Up to and including.
Okay.
Thank you, Nick.
All right, thanks. Next item, you got budget?
Yes, we have budget.
No, you're going to join us on Thursday.
I believe it, yeah, I'm sure I will.
We'd like you to join us on Thursday.
I only got
Oh,
one vest. All right.
Oh, it wasn't a request, it was more of a directive. So I don't know if is there anything that you want to go over today on them, or?
Anything, because we met with them once already,
Okay.
and.
Worked out the other?
Peter was there.
Your question, I did.
Yeah.
I moved, did you want me to explain it now or wait till Thursday?
You can wait till Thursday.
Okay.
That'd be fine.
Yeah, that'd be great.
That's fine.
Okay. Yeah, so we'll go through the whole thing on Thursday, and,
Okay. What time, did you get a time?
The meeting starts at 6:30. I don't know that there's designated time. It's going to be in the media room.
oh, okay.
At the senior center?
Yes.
That's good, because everyone's sitting here. Next item is vehicles. Is this the retirement of?
Yes, we have the old L-Cat car up in our lot, and we're gonna be, I think my suggestion to the board was get rid of car 3. Although it's a black and white car, it should have been painted yellow. It's been expensive to maintain, it has some issues, and right now, I believe Sergeant Sheehan said we were getting some money. We're getting money to trade that in towards the purchase of the new
Oh,
cars.
good.
And car 4, we would suggest
Is that for animal control?
that be used. If you want that, or the L-Cat car, we can see what we get in an
I
auction.
think we're gonna do it.
I think we
Get rid of that,
determined
right?
the car that's already, what's the word I'm looking for?
Has a cage?
Thank you. Equipped, would be the one that will go to the animal control.
And we have no dog sirens, So he's gonna have to get his own tape for that.
No dog's head. Well, you can always put a dog's head out the window and it can just howl.
Dog sirens. Sorry.
Because I don't believe our LCAT director was interested in the vehicle, so.
No.
Okay.
As we've discussed, so.
Mr. Chairman, that is car 4 will be going to the animal control officer?
Yes.
Car 3 will be retired.
Yeah,
Minus-
we'll give Tom car 3's keys to him for car 4.
Okay.
So mileage should be low for a year.
That's nice, that's real nice.
That man will figure that out in 2 seconds.
Okay, and I believe, I'm not positive about this, I know Attorney Donahue's here. I know the next 2 items are executive. Is deployment of security personnel executive, sir? Either one of you.
Placing of security personnel or devices is executive.
Okay. So everything else in your little bit of information here is executive. Okay. So I guess for now we're done, but you can't go anywhere.
Okay, thank you.
Kenny, you can leave, but you can't.
No, I can't.
Oh, you can't?
She's getting a key for
It's a
car
long
3.
walk.
Oh, all right.
Thanks,
Chief.
Pat.
Chief, see you later.
All right. Next item is, we have a request from Brian Hill, who's a former firefighter who resigned, and he was a zoning board of appeals member, a former call firefighter, I'm sorry, the zoning board of appeals member. He was looking for a 20-year letter, I believe, and we did get a letter from the zoning board of appeals that I
Yes.
believe he served with them for 7 years.
Yep.
Is that what it was? Okay, so, this is my opinion, I'll look to the board for their guidance, but I don't see a problem with giving him the letter.
I don't need to make a motion to do so. Oh,
Okay.
Yeah,
sorry.
it's pretty much confirmed that he has the time.
Okay.
Deserves it.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Okay, capital planning clerical support.
Mr. Chairman, just want to report to the board that there has been interest from one employee. Her name is Pauline Saletti,
Okay.
and she would like consideration, and with the board's approval, I would forward her information to the chairman of the capital planning committee for recommendation.
Okay. So we have to, we should approve it before it's submitted or afterwards?
I think you would approve.
She's the only candidate that's come forward.
She's the only candidate that's come forward, and if the board's satisfied with that, I would do so. Let's send
Okay.
that over.
Is there a motion to approve, was it first name Pauline Saletti as the clerical support for the capital planning committee?
So moved.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
The next item is the auditor's contract, and this is something that I sort of brought up in light of the fact that we were going to the Mass Municipal Association meeting a couple weeks ago, which is basically, it's a meeting, but it's also a trade show. And we've been dealing with the same auditors for our town for a number of years, and they've been doing a fabulous job. I'm not saying they haven't, but just in the interest of fair play, I thought it might be a good idea to get some other candidates, and maybe at some point, actually just put out a request for proposal, and that way we know that we're serving the town in that we're getting the best possible rate that we can get for our audit. I know it's not cheap, I know it's a big job, but I also don't want the current person to get complacent and think that, it's a lifetime appointment. So we are tied into them through the year 2014, I believe, based on the last contract that we signed. So I did get, I think, 5 different names from 5 different accounting firms that handle municipal audits, and I will be forwarding those to Nick for future use, so we can actually, get this going. And like I said, I'm not saying anything bad about the firm that we're using now, but it's always nice to shake things up and keep people on their toes. So.
Great.
Next item is an employee benefit fair, May 1st, 2013, from 1 to 5 at the Council on Aging. And it's a casino theme?
Go figure.
Is it Penn National, MGM, or what?
We should know by then. No, will we know by then?
I don't know. The casino theme, but this item's here for the board's notification and about the fair itself, but then item B, the casino theme, was something that the board was presented with for the first time last year, and really what it is there is a proposal for one of the firms to come in, or as part of the fair, as a little bit of entertainment, there would be a couple of casino-style games, wheels, I think they were. Employees would be given 3 chances to play the games and earn or receive nominal prizes, little sort of giveaways from the vendors that are there. The Board of Selectmen took the matter up last year. I put it here to see if the board would agree to allowing for that for 2 table games at the fair this year. I ran it past Chief Nellis, and he didn't seem to have any concern with it. I just realized I did not run it past the Executive Director for Council on Aging, so if the board would want to make that question, or maybe hear from her about that.
Okay.
Fine.
Do you,
I think that's a good idea.
Executive Director of the Council on Aging, do you have any problem with this theme for your, okay.
The fee low.
You what?
We'll keep the fee low.
There you go. As long as the house gets its cut, is that what it is? Okay, is there a motion from the board to accept a casino theme night for the benefits fair on May 1st?
So, go ahead.
Second.
I like how you guys fight over doing the motion.
I'd just like to look and see if our mouth's moving.
Second.
All
I'm
in favor?
seconding that.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. The next item is notification from FEMA regarding our final flood elevation determination for the town of East Longmeadow. Let's see. This is just for
Information.
information,
For
which,
the board's information, right, this is the final version of the map for consideration. Mr. Hellier actually has done quite a bit of work on this and received quite a bit of training on this. He has said that he would, take a very close look at it, bring anything to the board's attention that he would see. You do have the larger document at your disposal as well, and I believe the deadline for, I think the deadline is sometime in July for everything to be final.
okay, and then once we get this, once he gives his go-ahead, I would think we could put the letter on the town website just for people who might find it of some benefit. Next item is notification from Pioneer Valley Planning Commission regarding the 2003 update to the Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy, which is a planning document required by the U.S. Department of Commerce. If you want to,
You're a participant.
what's that?
You're a participant.
They just want our approval?
This is here for board commentary, if there's any action that the board would want to take. Something that's presented to the board on an annual basis.
Is this something we're involved in, we're a part of?
We are not.
We're not a part of it.
It's currently an opportunity if the board wanted to pursue it.
We got till March 8th to pursue it. Okay, we can review their information and discuss it at probably our next meeting. Actually, we're gonna have 2 meetings before the 8th, aren't we? Because don't we have consecutive week meetings?
We really need to
That's
read
for
this
the
stuff
board.
closely.
Yeah, okay.
For the board to decide this evening.
Okay. And I believe we're tabling the next item? Till our next meeting?
What's that, 22?
Yep.
Yeah, maybe.
Since
It'd be nice to
we
have
haven't
to sit down
yes,
and-
yes.
Yep.
Right.
Yes. Yep.
All right. And the next item is the state appointment to the
East Longmeadow Housing
Yep,
Authority.
yep. Okay, so
Mr. Chairman, I've received on the board's behalf a resume that indicates interest for the current state appointee, governor's appointee rather, to continue on in that role.
Okay.
And was looking for a comment from the board, and if the board so chose, maybe a letter of support to accompany that to the governor's office to be drafted for the next meeting or a subsequent.
This is the current this is the current gentleman.
Yes.
Yes, I served on the board for 2 years. He does a very nice job.
Okay.
And he has a lot of information in that he runs the Springfield Housing Authority.
Oh.
He's a very
He's
a
got a lot.
wealth of knowledge,
Okay.
and
Sounds like it.
So you're
I
thinking-
would say yes.
So, we should
If
put the
the
letter
board-
together.
If the board wanted to take a vote this evening, to support the nomination, if you will, and send a letter of support, I think that would suffice.
Okay.
Make a motion to approve the appointment or the request. Is that what it will be?
Right, the board's not making the appointment, that's up to the
We're
governor's
approving,
office.
Approving it.
sending it to
Approving
the
it.
governor, yes.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Nope. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, great. Next item is we have 5 new call firefighter candidates that were presented by the fire chief. And he's looking for our recommendation for employment as a call firefighter. I've always been as people have heard me before, I'm a big proponent of letting department heads do their job, and I'm sure the chief can choose a call firefighter candidate a heck of a lot better than I can, so.
I agree.
So in that regard, I'd like to make a motion to accept the slate of proposed call firefighters as submitted by the fire chief.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
I just would like to note that one member is currently 18 years old, but the MFA allows students who are 18 years old to complete their training program when he turns 19. Prior to completion of the MFA training, will not be responding to any incidents for the Longmeadow Fire Department before this time.
Thank you.
Just to note that he is underage at the time.
And I've heard that he's been up at the fire station, and he's actually doing a tremendous job, so.
There's a
in
lifelong
what he's doing.
firefighter right there.
Yep. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, great, thank you. And last is the municipal space study update. Nick?
Just wanted to bring to the board's attention that it's underway, and you have a representative, there was a survey that was sent out. I filled it out for the Board of Selectmen's office, and I have a meeting scheduled on Thursday, 11, and so do other departments are meeting with them as well.
Great.
I thought we took care of the town hall the other day.
I suppose we'll let them earn it.
What's that?
Suppose we'll let the firm earn it.
Okay. Now, under new business, we have unfortunately a resignation notification from Marge LaRocca. She's the administrative support to the Appropriations Committee. She's resigning from that post effective the end of the current fiscal year, so we'll have to put out a request or another, notice for someone, if someone's interested in this position.
Two things, Mr. Chairman, just want to point out, it is a resignation solely for that duty of
Right.
appropriations clerical. Ms. LaRocca is still going to be working in the clerk's office. And at the board's consensus, I will send out a notice and see if there's interest for that time period.
Okay. Great, thank you. Next item for signature, we have achievement citations for Eagle Scouts William J. Stebbins II and Brady M. Sunter. Their awards are going to be given out February 24th, 2013 at the First Congregational Church. I know that's a tremendous achievement. I certainly never made it that far through the Scouts, so we want to give them congratulations. I know we have the citations for them, and I don't know if I can make it, but we can discuss the fact as to whether one of us can make it actually to that, to that event to present their citations to them.
What is the date?
February 24th. I know you can't.
I can go.
Okay. And our next item is a request to hold a fundraiser from the East Longmeadow Bark Park Association. It was sent to the Planning, Police, Fire, Recreation, and DPW for approvals and recommendations. I know they've had a few issues, but it'd be nice. Obviously, it's nice to see them raise some money so they can tackle some of the.
Yeah, and they've been working the issues out, I believe.
Yeah, they've got growing pains.
Yeah.
I attended a couple of the DPW meetings on behalf of the Department of Health because there was health issues. And they're working through it.
Yep.
They do have some money right now. They've been directed to remove their own waste via a container and bag supplied by the town, but the town is no longer physically doing what they should have been doing in the first place. So they've gone through a few things. There's been some issues with dogs biting dogs that we haven't been aware of. The Board of Health hasn't been made aware of it, so we've directed them that they must report things as much as they can. Sometimes they don't know, but
So the fundraiser will not be serving hot dogs, I hope.
There's always one.
As long as they don't have legs. Is there a motion to approve their request to hold a fundraiser on, they don't give a date, do they?
No, Mr. Chairman, it's really a notification.
Okay, so they're not actually asking for our...
I think Selectman Punderson might have a, did you have, it looked like Selectman Punderson had a comment.
We can't approve anything that we don't know of, so is this going to require a vote from us, or approval, or just?
Right
It's just
now,
information.
It's just information?
It is information.
Okay.
We do have the requests out to various departments for comments back to the
Okay.
Board of Selectmen. There are times where if there's an established, if you will, event, the board has occasionally taken a vote on contingency. For example, if the timing of the Christmas tree sale worked out where it wouldn't have, you wouldn't have had a meeting, but it doesn't necessarily appear to be the case with this particular event.
Okay. So we'll hold off until everyone gets their chance to look at it and comment on it, and we'll go from there.
Bring it back.
Yep.
I mean, I'm not going to say
Okay.
anything yes to, don't know the date,
Okay.
don't know where it is. I mean,
Okay.
like you said, it's not something that's
I believe-
traditionally been done, so we have, knowledge of it.
Okay.
Would it be, Mr. Chairman, then it seems like the board is not dismissing it. It's
No, we're not
more
discussing it, we
information.
just need more details.
Yep.
More detail.
Yeah. Okay. Next item is accounting office staff. I know we had a,
Mr. Chairman, I might suggest that that would be a
executive?
executive.
Okay. And the next item is a notice from Secretary Galvin's office regarding local option for the Senate primary, which I found interesting in the fact that our election is usually held the second Tuesday of April, I
The
believe.
12th, I believe.
And the primary election for John Kerry's seat is April 30th. And they've basically given the town's local option to combine the two and have our election at the same time, so we're not running
That's bad.
two elections and spending, spending,
Time
wait, don't you want a few
management.
more weeks? I hear those noises, so I gotta say something.
Well, it's the dollars and cents involved that seem to push it towards making sense to postpone.
Right, right.
I'm with Mrs. Thorpe, but I'd like to get it done sooner rather than later. But if you look at the financial responsibility,
Right.
maybe it makes sense.
Right. It's only 18 days.
The question I have is, when you have the runoff, is there statute that tells you that the distance has to be between a runoff and the final election? Because that would have to be pushed back to.
Yeah, that I'm not sure about. I don't know if you know, Jim. No? Yeah, we can ask,
Town council.
yeah, we can ask Tom Florence about that.
Because that would,
Right.
we have to move that also, which actually makes it easier, to be honest with you, but,
Okay, we'll look into that.
yeah, I'll look into that. So,
Well, Mr. Chairman, then for this statute, and certainly I don't have the answer to that runoff question. I think it's more of a minimum question, but
Yeah, as opposed to,
the timing is going to be such that the runoff, I believe, is March 13th.
Mhm.
The board next meets, of course, the 26th. And then the election, I believe, is April 9th. As of right now, that'll be the second,
oh, okay. Okay.
I believe that's the date,
The 9th?
the
Okay.
9th.
I've got a calendar on this one.
All right, that would make sense, because if the primary for the state is the 30th, that's 21 days, so that would be a Tuesday also, so. I
Correct.
assume they're having it on Tuesday, okay. So,
But I don't know that there's a maximum to it.
I see what you mean. In other words, you have to have a minimum time between the preliminary and the
Yeah, that's what I'm
regular election,
saying.
but not a maximum.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I have
Okay,
no idea.
so it sounds like, we will check on this, but it sounds like from what Nick's saying, we can hold the preliminary when it is and have the regular election
And it is the
on the 30th.
9th.
Okay. All right, we'll check with Tom Florence on that, and we'll have more information for our next meeting. Now it's to the Board of Health.
Board of Health, mosquito spraying. Get to page 38. There's been an RFQ put out for application of our yearly application of the substance they use to kill the mosquitoes to keep them at bay. I just want to let you know that Mr. Bro has sent that out. I was going to discuss, as far as new business, I was going to discuss the ACO's budget request and so forth, but I'm minus some information I need from the town accountant, so I'm going to have to postpone that and ask for that to be put into the next meeting. There's some questions about the funding, revolving fund or not, and we want to make sure that the explanation is correct.
Okay. And as far as the vehicle request, we've already, I believe, taken care of
The
that.
vehicle request, yes, we've taken care of that. We now assigned, was it car 4 to
Yes.
the animal control officer?
Right.
Just a little background on that.
Car
Most-
54.
Get a helicopter next year.
Most towns have a vehicle. The current configuration is, the gentleman is using, our animal control officer is using his own truck, which he's put all the stuff in, but it's just the same, it's his own vehicle. And as he becomes more involved in this process, he's made this into a very fine position and a very needed position, very worthwhile effort. But as he moves forward, there's all sorts of things, whether he's in an accident in his own car and the damage to the car and all this stuff, so we've decided to give him his own animal control vehicle. It'll be safer for him, it'll be identified as that, it's going to be an old cruiser, so people will see that. It's going to have a light on the back window shelf, I don't know what you call that, nothing on top. For safety, currently, when he pulls over to the side of the road, he's got his 4-way flashers on, and he's no different than any other vehicle. There's no identifying that there's a, animal control officer dealing with maybe a deceased animal or a bite or whatever, so I think it was a good move for him, increase the safety of his job.
Great.
I don't know on the recycling thing, Nick, I wasn't prepared for that.
That was news we got in the afternoon
Yeah, I was
mail.
going to say something, I look at it all, and boom. So if you'd like to, I'll defer to you, you have the information.
This is,
Oh, it's on
I believe-
39 and 40, I'm
Yep.
sorry.
Okay.
Go ahead.
It's just account activity report, is that what you're looking at?
What I was going to just tell the board is, this is one of the times when we received a check for our recycling. I believe I
Great
mentioned that
thing.
during the budget process here, meeting. And this, what you see there with the flat payment is $15.67 a ton, and it breaks down further. The revenue sharing, anyway, the town has received a check
Oh, I know.
now for 22,000.
200.
Right, 22,223.22.
That's,
If they had taken a dollar out of it, it would have been much more symmetrical. It would
Yeah.
have been all twos.
that is impressive. I think that the residents of East Longmeadow should be pleased with themselves, and that's not a small chunk of change at all.
No, it's not. This has been one of the best efforts that's been brought into
Yeah.
the town to date. I mean, as far as really consistently deferring costs.
$3,000 to $4,000 a month in revenue for doing what's right.
Pretty
That's
consistent,
great.
isn't it?
Yep.
4th of July was a big month, $4,000.
Yeah, that's great.
All right, now you got new business, right?
That's it for Board of Health.
No, not, we got new business, which is just notifications.
Right, item 34, there are just renewals for signature that the chairman has been working diligently on.
And it goes on. At least.
It is
Well,
a
that
stack.
that was just the second batch, I know.
And then there is a signature of free sale for W.F. Young.
Okay.
Okay, great. Thank you. Under correspondence, we have the, God, I can do some jokes with this. I have the annual complaint outage report for 2012 filed by Charter, and is it the size of a phone book, or is it?
It's a
I
few
couldn't resist,
pages.
I'm sorry. All of a sudden, my cable's gonna be cut off, I know. But, in any event, you can go ahead, Nick, sorry.
It's a few pages, it's provided for the board's information.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's see, why don't we quickly zip through meetings, invitations, and reminders, and we'll get to town council, and then we'll do everything there, and then we'll end with executive session. Meetings, invitations, reminders, CPC meeting Wednesday, February 6, 2013, 6:30 PM in the Town Hall Hearing Room. Appropriations Committee meeting February 7th, 2013, Council on Aging Media Room at 6:30 PM. The town offices are closed Monday, February 18th in observance of President's Day. The CERT meet and greet at the Senior Center is Monday, February 18th, 6:30 PM to 8:30 PM.
Mr. Chairman, the CERT, just for those at home, it stands for Community Emergency Response Team.
Thank you. The Board of Selectmen schedule is, our next meeting is February 26th, and then March 5th, March 19th, April 2nd, April 10th, which is a tentative reorganization, but that'll be determined based on what we find out about the local rule and the senator's election, April 16th and April 30th. Local Emergency Planning Committee meeting is Wednesday, February 27th, 7 PM at the East Longmeadow Fire Department. There's a East Longmeadow, what is it?
Medical Reserve.
Medical Reserve Corps potluck meet and greet, Monday, March 11th, 2013, 6:30 to 8 at 50 Devonshire Terrace at the home of Carleen E. Fisher Hoffman, MRC Unit Coordinator. And the Medical Reserve Corps Train-a-thon, Saturday, March 16th, 2013, in Wilbraham, location to be determined.
Mr. Chairman, that location will be the Gardens of Wilbraham.
Okay.
And if I could just explain for a moment that recently I attended the training at Westfield State University, and that was a one-day for MRC volunteers. You go and receive a certain base training, incident command, national incident management system, some basics, and then psychological first aid and a few other things, and you get it all done in one day. I would encourage those who are interested in MRC to come in, fill out an application, and then, if possible, attend that training. It is a free training for people to attend, and it will prove valuable.
Thanks. Next, Town Council. Patiently sitting there.
Good evening.
How are you? Might as well first identify the executive session items, which I
It
assume
would be the personal question memo,
Yep,
discussion with Labor Council, collective bargaining,
yep, non-union negotiations.
non-union negotiations, non-union negotiations with the Assistant Executive Secretary or Town Administrator, and litigation matters.
And how about the time off request down below there?
No, I think that's an event that's already occurred, correct?
The time off has not been granted. I would suggest that it would be under strategy with respect to collective bargaining, as that it could potentially be an issue. And then also there is a carryover from the accountant's office that I believe would be under collective bargaining, along with an individual's right to privacy under 214(1)B.
Thanks.
And deployment of security.
Oh, that's right, yep, okay. All right. Water tower cellular lease.
Yes, that's the issue with I met with the Board of Public Works last week. I believe I answered their concerns and their questions with respect to the determination of surplus property. So I think they're satisfied that the property can go out to public.
Okay, so we're ready to send out an RFP?
Correct.
Okay.
And Mr. Chairman, I'll report that the advertisement for the Central Register will be published next Wednesday, the 13th. The deadline it had to be in today for next Wednesday. And just briefly, the RFPs will be due back on Monday, March 18th, and hopefully I'll be able to get that together and present it to the board for consideration on the 19th.
Thanks. Auburn Street property update.
Nick had asked me to identify for him the next step in the process of following through with the sale of this property pursuant to the RFP, which the board, or the response to the RFP, which the board suggested. And I have for Nick a warrant article.
Okay.
To be put into the next annual warrant.
Okay, good. Mass conflict of interest training.
And again, I think Nick can speak more directly to this current request, but 2.5 years ago, the state enacted legislation which required that every municipal employee by, I think, March 1 of 2009, pass a test prepared by the State Ethics Commission. It's online, and every employee is required to take it according to the state law. Some of the paperwork in your packet is a little history with this. When this initially came out, it was unclear from the legislation and the position of the Ethics Commission itself whether it was the requirement of the community to be sure that the employees submitted their passing of this test to the community. We asked for an opinion from the state auditor with respect to whether this was a mandate or not. The Ethics Commission, in consultation with the state auditor, responded and took the position, which we confirmed in writing to them, that their interpretation of the law was that the municipality was not responsible for ensuring that the employees submitted their certificate that they passed the test, but only to use the best efforts to notify the employees that it was their responsibility to take the test and submit a certificate to the personnel department, or to, in lack of a personnel department, to the head of their department for insertion in their personnel file. So it's coming up again for recertification. That 2-year period is up. And there's also some websites and some additional training material that's available. I think that Nick has sort of worked out a plan to use to make available municipal computers to allow employees who might not otherwise have access to take the exams and to comply with their obligation. Fair statement?
Mr. Chairman, yes, to council, that's accurate. That's what I'm looking for from the board is, since strictly speaking, this is not seen as by the state as an unfunded mandate, if you will, and of course the training itself is important because employees need to know where the line must be drawn. And so the question to the board is, I also will report to the board that I've had a conference call with the IT director and the gentleman who oversees a program at the state about this, and my question is if the board would support my setting up with the IT director some kind of training access for employees that won't cover all employees but would provide opportunities to let them come to maybe a group training via their website, and to try and facilitate that, knowing that it would necessarily need to be first come first serve, or work it out with other department heads, details that I don't know that the board necessarily needs to get wrapped up in, but I want to know if in concept if we could do something, would the board support it, knowing that ultimately it is up to the employees. The town's responsibility is to distribute a summary conflict of interest law, and the employee must provide the receipt of that. The second is for the training itself, and that's what I'm asking about, is to be able to use some town time to make that available.
So the training is just going on to the state website, logging in, and taking the test?
It is, the training is now, and that was the other thing, in 2012, the state revamped the training and how it was presented, and now on the website, yes, that is the concept. However, it is approximately 80 videos of varying lengths of 30 seconds to maybe 2 minutes. And so you need to click through those. You need to, ideally, would have a facilitator to, answer questions. Then at the end of that training, in a group setting, or, well, when you're an individual, at the end of the training, you have an opportunity to fill in an online certificate and print it out, and then provide that to your employer. In the case here, it would be a situation where the state has said, okay, you can do that, and then take a sign-in sheet list, and then from there print out the certificates later. But before I go and use town resources for something that, strictly speaking, is not the town's responsibility, I wanted to know whether or not the board might support that.
But it is something that is beneficial, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm actually, as a member of another board, I'm required to take that test and submit my own certificate as an elected member of a different board. I have to do it. I think that some people are intimidated by computers, and that if we can help our employees do the right thing and learn, that certainly is a good use of town time, and that that's just my opinion. For some of us, it's easy to go on and take care of it. Others are not as comfortable, so.
And is that something that we would take part in?
Yes.
Okay. The only reason I ask is it even seems more logical for us because and the employees of the town work for the town. We have outside jobs, and there's more of a chance there could be a conflict of interest just in, depending on what you do for a living with the town. So I just want to make sure that all the boards get the pleasure also of doing this, so.
You as elected officials or appointed officials are also municipal employees and
Right.
fall under the penumbra of that statute.
Excuse me.
So I
All
have
right.
to take it twice.
Mr. Chairman, then do I have a consensus of the board at least? to
Yeah,
proceed?
is there a motion to,
So moved.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
The other item is snow removal by volunteers, which, just to give it an overview, there's a business in town and the owner has offered to clean the bike trail in the winter, clean the snow off it, but what this person is looking for from the town is obviously if there's some sort of accident related to ice or whatever on that trail after he cleans it or before he cleans it, but he doesn't want to be held responsible for it, which is understandable. So I know we were looking for an opinion from Maya, which is a Mass
Interlocal
insurance agency. And I don't know if you have a response, if you've heard back from them or if you've
Well,
heard back from them.
there's a letter in your packet or an email in the packet that was sent to Nick. They've indicated that as a volunteer, this person would be considered an employee of the town, which would mean that if there were injuries as a result of any acts that this volunteer were performing on municipal property, that it would be the town's responsibility to be compensated, or
Which
to
is only
compensate that individual.
Which is the situation anyway.
Right.
So.
Right.
What type of agreement do you have to have with a volunteer as far as the capacity, or as far as him defining snow removal and the town saying that that's snow removal? You know what I mean? To limit, in other words, when he does his work, there's a standard he should be set that should be set for him to do it, so there's no question as to whether he took it down far enough, or am I right there or wrong? Because
Well,
the town has certain standards for its own employees.
you're a
so-
selectman, so as far as I'm concerned, you're always right. But,
Boy, that's on tape.
You all heard it.
I get a copy of that for my wife.
Yeah.
the issue,
Non-applicable.
but
You know what I'm saying? that-
But the snow plowing is really under the jurisdiction of the Board of Public Works. So this volunteer would be volunteering to do snow plowing
To the same standard.
for the Department of Public Works and would be subject to whatever standard
Right.
they use with respect to this plowing. So if he goes beyond that standard or plows something that shouldn't have been
Under it,
plowed, then there's an issue of whether he's still within his employment because he's gone beyond what he was volunteering to do.
Right.
I just want to bring that out, because that's
That's a good point.
half the equation.
Right,
That's a good
right. I also, in the memo, the agent for Maya suggested that the town consult with the town council to have a hold harmless agreement negotiated or an indemnification agreement negotiated between the employee, this voluntary employee, and the town. And I would suggest to you that that would create more problems than it's worth with respect to the fact, for purposes of liability, volunteers are considered employees, and then you're going to be, picking and choosing which employees we're going to be looking for indemnification from.
Okay.
So I'd suggest not to do that.
Okay, thank you. I believe that's all the,
Mr. Chairman, then, for consideration, then I would ask the board to consider whether or not you support first to see if you support the concept of a volunteer performing the work. Then if that's the case, then how to proceed, should a notification be made to the Board of Public Works where they would be the authority to appoint a volunteer to do that with the oversight and so forth. It's my understanding that the rail trail is with the Board of Selectmen authority as a property, and that Board of Public Works maintains it.
Has anyone asked, DPW, have they Do they know about, I mean, are they willing
Why don't
to
we just-
supervise a new volunteer position? If
They-
that's
Well, it's not really a volunteer position, it's just an individual who's volunteering to
volunteer
do it.
person,
yeah.
right?
They had the same questions at their last meeting regarding.
And they've been satisfied?
We didn't answer them.
No.
The answer was that there was liability, that there was no way that, they were talking about hiring, taking this person on as an independent contractor to voluntarily do the work, not to take him on as an employee. So now you take him as a voluntary person as an employee.
So you have to take him on as an independent contractor even though he volunteers?
Well, he volunteers as an independent contractor to come in and do the work. He's doing it as a
So
contractor,
what about
not as an
these,
employee.
pardon my question, what about these people who do like the median strips in Springfield and it's a landscaping company who volunteers to take care of it? Are they employees of, independent contractors of Springfield, or are they just volunteering to mow the median strip?
We would have to look at what their agreement is with Springfield, but the question coming from the Board of Public Works was that the independent contractor would come in to do the work. It really wasn't there wasn't any discussion of that entity or individual coming in to be an employee.
Well, no, I
A
realize that.
volunteer employee. So we never got, it was a
Okay.
different issue we were talking with the Board of Public Works.
Because I'm just thinking independent contractors, as we know from other occurrences, are supposed to have their own insurance, so I don't,
Right.
That was the discussion, because the concern was that if he did this, would he be liable under his own
Right.
coverage if there was an injury?
Right.
He wasn't gonna do it.
That's why I hate the
That's
term
way it was.
independent, that's why I hate
Right.
the term independent
Right.
contractor. I like volunteer much better.
Right.
I'm supportive of
so-
the concept and the idea, but
Yeah.
obviously you'd want to make sure that,
Well, it's pretty simple. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. He's a
Yeah.
volunteer, he's covered,
If he's volunteer, he's an employee. I
Yeah.
think the thing that the board should keep in mind is because at some point, if you take on a number of volunteers, at some point, Maya is going to say to you, you've increased your employment pool, there's a greater potential here for risk to us, your rates are going to go up because of this. So this situation should be considered, at least initially, as narrowing it to this specific,
Yeah.
maintaining the rail trail, and this volunteer doing that, and if it's going to expand to more than one volunteer, that the board be comfortable with that and know what the economic ramifications of that would be.
I have to say, my office, the rail trail is behind my office, and if I go out, there is never a moment when I go out and not see someone walking on it. It is always being used.
Right.
And
You see,
always being used. There's always someone there, no matter what time I go out back.
The volunteer's a local businessman. I applaud his
Mhm.
looking into that and his desire to
And
do it.
Once we can get through the, pardon my expression, legalese of the whole thing,
Mhm.
I'm in favor of, granting him permission to
Yes.
voluntarily serve the town in that
I had this
capacity.
very question asked me by a person's house that I was working in, and resident's house. And I said, I think it's liability, and they'll be happy to know it's getting rectified. There's a lot of people that want to get on there. You get on there, the minute the snow's clear, the parking lots are full, so good
Right.
idea.
Yeah.
Is this something we have to vote on? Should
I
we
think
vote
at least a
On
consensus for
concept?
me to pursue it, then I
Yes.
think through the Department of Public Works and explain the board's discussion. And really, the question to council is, who needs to be making that appointment and holding the standard? To me, it's the Department of Public Works.
And
So
if
we
they're
sh-
willing.
Yeah,
Right.
so we should make a motion to approve the acceptance of the town person who wants to volunteer to take care of the bike trail, with the understanding that he'll be under the purview of the Department of Public Works, and with their acceptance of that also.
Yes.
Right.
So moved.
Is there a
Second.
second? Thank God you didn't make me repeat that. All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
What was that again, Paul?
Yeah, thanks. Now we have, let me see if I can get all these. We have,
I'm going to suggest that the items that I've checked, read those as the basis for going
Okay.
into executive session.
okay, we'll be moving into executive session to discuss strategy and preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel, to discuss strategy and preparation for collective bargaining negotiations with union personnel,
You should read that last part of it.
no,
though.
because to discuss these matters in open session may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining position of the town. Move to go, also go into an executive session to conduct contract negotiations with non-union personnel. Move to go into executive session to discuss the deployment of security personnel or devices. to discuss matters involving an individual's expectation of or right to privacy pursuant to Chapter 214, Section 1B, and to discuss matters involving attorney-client privilege.
So moved.
Is there a second? All in favor? Aye. Oh, I'm to return only to
Adjourn.
adjourn. Thank you. I was thinking convene.
Motion.
Yes.
All in favor?
Oh, aye.
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 Mr. Punderson?
Yes.
Mr. Bronski?
Yes.
Mr. Federici, yes.
Mr. Chairman, for the minutes, we'll reflect that Selectman Bronski so moved and Selectman Punderson seconded.
Thank you.
Thanks.